Welcome back to Bitcoin Generations. This is Bodie, and we have a special edition tonight on a Friday night when y'all are out doing your fun stuff. Probably not watching a Bitcoin live stream, but just got some information that I wanted to share tonight. I was pretty excited about it, and it's a special edition. And just wanted to kind of let you know we are live every Thursday at 2 p.m. This is a special edition on Friday. Just to kind of like recap this week. Um, this week was the an event down in Florida, and I went down to that. It's called Mining Disrupt, and I was down there to kind of learn about mining. It's like, okay, so this mining thing, it's all like, high tech, young people pretty much only are going to this thing. And, like, what's this guy with the gray beard doing here? That's kind of what I was wondering. But it was very, very interesting. I enjoyed it tremendously. And I would say that anybody who is, got any interest in mining whatsoever, even if you don't, even if you're just curious about it, if you like Bitcoin and you like what it represents, you'll really like mining because that's kind of the backbone of this thing. If Bitcoin were like let's say Bitcoin was a human being instead of a and don't go down this rabbit hole too far, but just go with my analogy here. If Bitcoin was like a human being, it would be like um sort of like the spinal column, that's kind of what the Bitcoin mining part would be the spinal column. And like the nodes would be sort of like the brain. The nodes would be kind of like, okay, that's where everything is kept. All the ledgers all have to agree, and that's all the nodes on the Bitcoin network would be like the brain, and for any of you OGs out there, you're listening to this and you're like, no, Bodie, you got it wrong. Just yeah. Uh, Thank you for letting me go on this analogy and just try to make a decent attempt for new Bitcoiners or boomers. Um, so if you have like the brain is sort of like the nodes, which is sort of the ledger, it keeps track of all the transactions in the blockchain. Then you have the spinal column, which is the miners, all the miners, and they are all put together and they mine these blocks so that they can go onto the blockchain. Then then you have everything else is decentralized. All the other stuff, all the people, everything else is all the extremities and everything else that the work that happens there. So so that's kind of like, I'm making an analogy, but I'm trying to get to the point of we need more of the miners in the and to decentralize the network. Okay, that's what this episode is about. That's why it's called Bitcoin expanding the network equals many more miners at home, because that's kind of what I've taken away. So that's the executive summary, is that we are we are needing more miners. We are needing more miners because there's very centralized, if you will, currently, compared to where it can be. It can be decentralized. So with that, we'll just move right into this, and I'm gonna just kind of like go into this interview that I've got right here. I want to show that right now, and kind of make that um, something that we can break things up with and talk about regarding this interview. Okay, first of all, before I get to the interview, just want to say thank you to Matt, and to everybody down there that was helpful to me. I'm sitting down there, I've got a million things running through my head about, like, like ideas and how does this work and how could that work, and I've got to formulate a question to ask this person, and just really pretty condensed 2 days, 2 full days. And I liked it because it was in the middle of the week, right? It's great for, you come back home and you got the weekend. But that's why I didn't have a show on Thursday. Um, wanted to kind of update as soon as possible and get this little interview that we had with Matt from Solo Satoshi and get this out there. But you know, I have to tell you a little bit about this interview. So it's I didn't bring all my equipment or anything like that. I don't really have much equipment, but I didn't bring anything but my phone. And I'm down there with my daughter in Fort Lauderdale, and so I'm doing this interview with Matt on my recording it, and my daughter calls me during the interview, right? And it cuts off the recording. So so what we just pivoted, right? He's a stand-up guy, man. Amazing. We just pivoted it, and I was like, and then so we just started back up and finished the interview. It's a very short interview anyway, but that's why my hat's off to him. Thank you, sir, for being such a kind gentleman, and just a stand-up guy. We'll be buying some more bit axes from him for sure. But I would say that the points that he made in the interview, there's a first part that's like, I don't know, 6 minutes, and then there's a second short part, and we'll go into that, have a little conversation like right in the middle, and then we'll finish the interview, and then we'll have some more discussion. But this show will be pretty short total. Okay, so here we go. We're gonna bring it up. I'm going to
Hey there.
stand by. I'm going to play this interview, and then we'll just kind of stop it and discuss a few things as we go. Okay, here we go. This is Matt from Solo Satoshi.
Hey there. It's Bodie. We're back for another episode of Bitcoin Generations, and just going to be a short one this time. Just down here in Florida at the Mining Disrupt Conference 2025. And I've got a special guest here with me, Matt from Solo Satoshi. So Matt, great to have you, and we're going to just keep it real short today.
Yeah.
I know your time is valuable. We've both got to go catch planes and stuff. So anyway, I just want to welcome all our baby boomers, all the new Bitcoiners, and today just going to kind of ask Matt a couple questions about learning about mining. How easy it is. Something I, as a new Bitcoiner, as a definitely a new person interested in mining, what it's like to kind of maybe get started, and maybe we could do it at home. So my first question, Matt, then is really just kind of like, well, why do we want to mine at home, and how do we get started with that?
Yeah, so back in the day when Bitcoin was, first invented, when it come to public light, so to say, you could download the Bitcoin software on your computer, and your computer acted as both a node and a miner at the same time. And over time, that just seemed to separate with the evolution from CPUs to GPUs to ASICs. It got harder and harder to mine at home. Nowadays, when you look at Bitcoin mining, you think of it as something you can't do because the machines are so big, they're so loud, they're really hot, and you literally you double your electricity rate of your home. So mining at home is important because it further decentralizes the Bitcoin network. The reason why that's important is because we don't want too much power to fall into the hands of the elites, whoever's running these mining pools. They're controlling all this hash rate. It gives a really critical, security threat to the Bitcoin network. And that's what projects like BitAxe are doing. So BitAxe is a single ASIC chip Bitcoin miner, but that's not the extravagant part. The extravagant part is that it's fully open source. So what this allows people to do is build their own Bitcoin miner at home, or you can purchase one from Solo Satoshi. We ship it straight to your door, and it's only 1 terahash. It's only one ASIC chip. However, 3 in the last year have found a Bitcoin block all on their own, and that's 3.125 Bitcoin plus the transaction fees associated with each block. So what projects like BitAxe are doing and these other small home miner devices, they're putting power back into the hands of the people.
Okay, I want to talk about a couple things here real quick before we go a little bit further down the decentralization conversation here with him. Okay, he mentioned that for anybody who doesn't know, hitting a Bitcoin block is a big deal. And when these people, and they've hit three now, three Bitcoin blocks have been hit by these bit axes, and they're just little tiny mining units. And you mine these with these at home. This is life-changing money for people when they hit one of these. Okay. Yeah, you can say it's like hitting the lottery, but really, like, I don't know how many bit axes are out there mining, but it seems like better odds than the lottery if they've hit three already. I mean, that's pretty good. I mean, I don't know all the numbers, but I would say that, when you buy a bit axe, you're probably not thinking you're going to hit one of these blocks. I mean, the numbers don't speak to that. The numbers are kind of like, yeah, probably not ever going to happen. But these are uh, and I don't know if they are mining solo, which means they're just mining for themselves, and if they hit a block, then they get all of that block reward. Versus if they're in a pool, then they get a portion of that, a little bit of that, but they're in a pool. So if anybody else hits a block that's in the pool, then they would get a little portion of that too. So it's kind of like, when you mine solo, you get everything. And when you don't mine solo and you're in a pool, then you have to share everything that you won with everyone else. So that would be the disadvantage of, mining in a pool if you hit a block, because now you have to share everything with anyone else. So, tomato, tomato. I don't know. It's really up to you, but you have the choice to do that. And the beautiful thing is that, by expanding this network and decentralizing the network of the miners, it's kind of creating sort of like a lot of surface area, or a lot of breadth to the network of miners who can then make the whole entire network stronger, because it's so much more decentralized, if that makes sense. So, okay, so that's the point he's making. I know I'm restating it horribly, but let's just continue. And we're about halfway through the first portion of this, and let's just keep listening carefully, because he's got some good nuggets he's dropping here.
Where it should be, and they're stripping power away from the large corporate miners who have built these.
Okay, hold on. I'm going to back it up. We're going to hear that again, because I want him to make that point.
Plus, the transaction fees associated with each block. So what projects like BitAxe are doing, and these other small home miner devices, they're putting power back into the hands of the people where it should be, and they're stripping power away from the large corporate miners who have built these monoliths of Bitcoin mining empires. It's stripping power away from them and bringing the power back to us.
Okay, that's wonderful. It's and for the new Bitcoiners, like if you mined a Bitcoin, or if you mined a block, I'm sorry, and you've earned over 3 Bitcoin, that's no small thing. And for a small miner to do that, I mean, that's like, was it 240,000 or something?
Yeah, it's
ballpark.
It all depends on the price and the transaction fees, right? But it's life-changing money, and not only is it about life-changing money, it's about ripping that block away from the corporations. That's what's really the important thing. It's amazing.
Well, so just there's been a lot of developments with the BitAxe and stuff, and without going into all that just amazing stuff that they've been doing. What do we have kind of on the horizon that we could be looking forward to with Solo Satoshi, and anything that you might want to, kind of just hit us with some good points that you want us to go home with?
Yeah, so there is the BitAxe 601 Gamma. It is the single chip variant. There were models before it, but it uses like one of the latest and greatest ASIC chips. So the efficiency and the hash power for just one ASIC chip is really affordable, and it only costs you maybe like $1.50, $2 a month to run. There's also other variations that are starting to come out because the project is open source. It allows anyone to pick up on the files and continuously improve on it. So what people have done is start putting more ASIC chips on the board. So now we go from 1 terahash in all the homes, right? That's what we're aiming for. We're trying to get people to mine Bitcoin in their homes again, because it's going to grow the hash rate exponentially. And what happens is when you start adding more chips to a board and those boards start going to more homes, we grow the hash rate of the network exponentially as well. And we make it harder for the big guys to get blocks, right? We raise the difficulty. Even though it's minuscule, once it grows exponentially, then it becomes, it becomes physically possible to do it. And so there's multi-chip devices coming out. We have the BitX Gamma. There's also something called the BitX Touch. So it has a small touch screen, like a 4-inch touch screen, and it gets users more involved with Bitcoin mining because it's interactive. You can see mempool stats, so you can see when the next difficulty is going to adjust. You can see the block height. You can see network fees.
Okay, so he's mentioning all these things here. There's a lot of term. Make sure my microphone's on. You guys can hear me, right? Okay, good. There's a lot of things he threw out there. Okay, and I'm going to slow this down terminology-wise for our boomers, our new Bitcoiners. Okay, he's talking about terahash. He's talking about hash rate. He's talking about this new product called BitX Touch. He's also talking about different kinds of chips and stuff. Okay, let's keep this real simple. I'm going to keep this at like kindergarten level for you guys. We want to write like, okay, this isn't my first rodeo. I remember the internet. Okay, I was here when the internet rolled out. We're not going to get scared. We're not going to get freaked out about terminology and this and that. It's all high tech and I can't understand it. So I'm just going to, like, my eyes are going to glaze over. No, we're not doing that. Boomers, we're waking up, smelling the coffee. We're gonna be filling up with a fresh pot of coffee on this one, because this is really good stuff. Okay, when he's talking about this stuff, don't worry, don't get freaked out about that. Okay, the reason is because do you understand everything about the computer chips in your computer? I don't know what kind of computer you're watching this on or what kind of phone you're watching this on, but do you understand all of the different kinds of chips inside those things? I guarantee a 99.99% of you all don't understand that. Okay, I don't understand it either. Here's the question: does it work? Yeah, it works. So it works, and we don't have to know every single terminology thing. Okay, now we can go down the rabbit hole and we can understand what a terahash is. We can understand what a exahash is, and we can understand what those things are. Not that I could, like, spout it off for you right now. I don't need to. I'm telling you right now, I don't need to, but I can do that. We can look up hash rate, we can look up terahash, and we can look up some of these other things. Let me just kind of really quickly just talk about hash rate. Hash rate is the work that comes out of that computer. That is the Bitcoin. If you're mining in a pool, that's what's going in your wallet. Okay, generally speaking. Okay, I'm very oversimplified, and I know it's not a technical explanation, but for this audience, I don't want a technical explanation. For this audience, I want us to know that hash rate is not you don't be intimidated by these terms. Okay, so that's the important part about that right there that I wanted to share with you. And now I'm going to share the second part, because, like I said, it's not a perfect interview. My daughter called in the middle of this interview, and it's really all I could do to get.
So we're just trying to wrap up.
I'm sorry, to get Matt to sit down with me. He was busy the whole day. He was kind enough to sit down with me to spend a couple minutes. So here we go. We're going to finish it up. And I'm trying to put this back together, and he's just like rolling with it. He's such an awesome dude. Here you go.
Wrap it up here with there's some of the products, the BitX Gamma and some of those things, but we'll just kind of like Is there anything else you wanted to add to finish all
No,
that?
so grab a Bitcoin miner, mine at home. It's critical to network security. It's very critical to network decentralization, which plays into security. Support open source mining, support open source developers. They need the funding. Open source is one of the most, it's one of the spaces that lack the most funding out of everything. We come to these big events, these big conferences, and people like Bitmain and MicroBT and all these big ASIC manufacturers have these giant booths that cost probably tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars. These companies are making hundreds of millions of dollars in revenue a year, and they're really starting to centralize Bitcoin mining. So our mission, Solo Satoshi's mission, and the overall mission of BitAxe in general is to decentralize Bitcoin mining and allow people to mine Bitcoin at home again, like it was originally supposed to be for the cypherpunks.
There you go. There you go. Thanks.
Okay, that's it. That's it. He said it right there. Okay. Those companies, and I'm telling you, they had the biggest, those miners, Bitmain and MicroBT, those Chinese companies that came in there and had like those $100,000 booths. Those were the biggest players, right? And you can imagine why. Because they're building the chips, they're building the hardware, and they've got a lot of those mining Bitcoin right now. So the project like the BitAxe and what Solo Satoshi has done with this open source mining unit and is really the key to the future of mining Bitcoin for the rest of us. It's like those of us who are at home. We might be stacking Bitcoin. We might be buying Bitcoin. I don't have that much, but you might have some more than I have. Great. But that's just part of it. You can, and you want to learn how to stack some Bitcoin by mining it yourself. You can do this, and it's not hard. So that's kind of what I wanted to share with you there. I'm gonna turn this down. I'm gonna actually get right to the very end, and it was great meeting him, and I'm just gonna leave this up for a second because you sometimes you don't know what somebody's like until you meet them, and Matt is just he's a very humble guy. He's very easygoing, and he's telling me he's got 3 people and they are struggling to keep up now. It's very difficult for him to try to keep up with all the stuff they've got going on. And he was a regular guy working a regular job not too long ago, and so hats off to him. Congratulations on running a great little company. This is the American dream. What people are trying to do in America is the small businessman trying to make a difference and make a big dent in something like this. That's just the money of the future, which is the Bitcoin mining and the Bitcoin network overall. This is the backbone. Remember, this is the backbone of Bitcoin right here, the mining of Bitcoin. Okay. So, a shout out to all the devs and everybody who's making a huge difference. You guys are amazing. But, I would just kind of like, I want to cap this off with a few things. You know, Bitcoin mining, sounds scary. It's kind of a, thing. But we don't want to be scared by stuff like that. Okay. I get if you get visions of donning PPE and having to go down to the depths of computer geek nerdland and saving hash boards from total meltdown. But you know I'm a boomer, and somebody like me would go into a place and find out like what's it like, what's really going on, why are people actually doing this, and why is it valuable, how are they doing it, asking a lot of questions. And that I couldn't say it any better than what Matt said it. Okay, so there's that. And the other kind of thing that's not being said is I think does need to be said, and that is, you know, it's kind of like what Ben Franklin said, you know, when he was asked the question, you know, like, what kind of form of government did you guys put together in the United States? And he says it's a republic if you can keep it. You know, it's a republic, you know. So, you know, and that's kind of like what I would say about you know, what kind of form of you know, what kind of digital money did you create, you know? And you know, and I think it's important to say, you know, it's a, you know, it's a Bitcoin network, you know, and we need to keep it, you know. So what does expanding that network look like? It looks like more miners in every house, you know, like they used to, I think it was Franklin Roosevelt said, you know, a chicken in every pot. And I could have that quote wrong. It might have been Woodrow Wilson. I don't remember, but you know, I want to have a chicken in every pot. Well, you know what? I think we need to have a miner in every home. Is kind of what I'm thinking. So that would decentralize the network immensely, and it would be it would make things very much more powerful in terms of our hash. Our hash rate would go up, and our mining network would be decentralized much better. So this is why we do this channel, is to try to educate people on like why this is important, and we want to keep things decentralized. Okay. Finally, I just kind of finish with this. I have a couple questions. You know, this is something that's kind of bothered me with people who are kind of like, man, I don't understand Bitcoin. I don't understand how do they mine it, and you know, it's like, nah, I can't. You know, I don't know. I don't know. Here's my question. Here's my question to you. If that's your question, if that's where you're at, let me ask you this question. Do you use money? Do you use money? And yeah, the answer is yes, you do. You use it every day. Uh, do you use money over the internet? Yes, you do. I do too. Do you, when you're standing at the point of sale at a store, or you're sitting at a cart and you're at the point of sale on an online transaction, do you know everything that happens in that transaction between your bank and the destination of where it's going? Or do you just hold your card up there and then beep, it makes a beep, and you know that you're waiting for this little approved uh message on the point of sale terminal, and then that's the end of it. You get your receipt, you're done, you're gone, right? Well, we know how the banks work. We know that they take that money out of your account immediately. It's debiting your account right then, if you're using a debit account. But the question, though, don't miss the question. The question is, can you understand, or do you understand what exactly is happening between, and this is the current fiat system that we live in. Do you understand exactly what's happening between the store point of sale and your bank, and then back when they get paid? I'll bet you 99.99% of you, again, don't understand that. I don't understand it either. My question then, after this first question, is the second question is, does it matter? No, it doesn't matter, because it's working. It works. And so that's the point. That's the point. Okay. You don't have to know every single tiny little detail about the technology. It's helpful. It's great if you do know, but you don't have to know all the details of the technology if it works consistently. Okay. So we have several different kinds of ways. We've learned in 16 years, we've learned several different kinds of ways that they move money, internet money, on the Bitcoin network. On the layer 1, which is the base layer, that's where big money gets moved on Bitcoin, on the Bitcoin network. But there's a second layer, and that's the Lightning Network and these other things that are being built to move money very quickly. maybe large amounts of money, but definitely small amounts of money can be moved across the second layer, layer 2, or the Lightning Network. There's other ones called Liquid. But don't get yourself concerned about all that. Just remember the big picture is that, does it work? How does it work? And is it work consistently? Has there been any record of people losing their money on the Lightning Network? That would be something to ask your AI. But most of the time, if you're managing your Bitcoin safely and securely, then you can say that probably the biggest problem is people losing, is human error, is operator error. Okay. We used to on the fire department used to have that, when somebody screwed up something really bad, it wasn't like, you didn't make a mistake. You didn't know it was operator error. It's yeah. So, this is the thing. You remember, the big picture, the way, then the message that Matt was giving us there was that we want to take this upon ourselves, the decentralized people, the regular small people out here, you and I, we're the little people. We want to expand the network of miners, expand the network of nodes, expand the number of miners in your house. We want to get a miner in everybody's house. Okay. Does it have to be a BitAxe? No, it doesn't. It could be anything. It could be one of those kind that the people are heating their house with the miners. It could be one of those that are heating their water with the miners. There's all kinds of heat reuse things going on. We've talked about that on this channel. I've got a book here. I've got, different kinds of connections. If that's something that's your jam, if that's your passion, reach out to me. Let me know. I'll do my best to connect you with the resources that I know about, because there are some people working on this stuff and they're passionate about this, and they're making things that are really, really, really amazing. Okay. Yeah. So for if you have to replace an HVAC unit, or if you have to replace a water heater, you need to reach out and you need to find out what's going on right now, because there's technology that you can mine Bitcoin while you're heating your water with the same piece of equipment. So if you're going to make a purchase, you have to make a purchase of some sort of like home appliance like that. Man, do your homework. Figure out what you could do if you spent some money to get a Bitcoin miner to do the same thing with you, so that you could have, for example, a water heater. You have to spend $1,500 to get a water heater replaced. Yeah. You think you might want to look at a possibility of something that you could actually heat your water and mine Bitcoin at the same time for maybe a little bit more than $1,500. I don't know your situation, but it's possible. It can be done. Yeah. Do your homework. Consider getting a Bitcoin mining unit at your house. Are you going to hit a block? Hey, I don't know. Probably not. But you know what? I'm going to do it because I think it's great. I want to decentralize the network, and I'm not even going to tell you how many miners I'm going to have at my house. I may have none. I might have a bunch. I don't know, but it's going to be great. It's going to be great to see more miners coming on, and we're gonna decentralize this network. And if we're going to make things really, really hop here in the United States, we're going to have to do some work ourselves. And so this is it. This is what we need to do. Okay. That's all I got for you today. It's been a great being with you. I hope you have a great weekend. We'll see you next Thursday at 2 o'clock live here on Bitcoin Generations. Probably have Jor, hopefully, but we'll be here on Thursdays live, 2 p.m. Eastern time. And shout out to Matt at Solo Satoshi. Shout out to all y'all that I met down in Florida. You guys are really helpful. Thank you very much. And thank you very much. You guys have a great day, and Lord bless you. All right. See you.